And good afternoon, my friends. It is exactly, it is 4:05 p.m. Daylight savings time started today and so forth on March the 9th, 2025. Of course, on a Sunday. So, yeah, start with the whole thing. All the trouble began. Those are the quoted words from a police officer who, with another partner, was going to see the neighbor down the hall back then. Oh, this is a couple years ago, and knocked on the door. So I opened the door and also point out to them that they're seeing the other one down the upside of the hall. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's where all the trouble starts," and that's where all the trouble started. She moved out now, but the thing is, what I want to point out, interestingly enough, all the abuse and harassment and sexual harassment has interestingly started after she moved out. And she is a known prostitute, a known drug trafficking, drugs, bad troublemakers going there all the time before she moved out. But since she moved out, I guess I'm not surprised all the harassment's being directed toward me now, since she's gone. So that's where all the trouble started. And these troublemaker neighbors, they all associate with her before she moved out. And the officers know that, obviously. And that's why they are bullying me. That is bullying, defaming my name, and so forth, as I mentioned before. And that makes sense when you think about it. So, yeah, that's the thing. That's where all the trouble started. And I believe she was pimping. Oh, I just lost my Prime Video, but that's okay. Uh, the harassment must have been very bad toward me because my cat was hiding in the closet for like over a week, hiding in there. And she's starting to come out when we're cuddling more at night together now. But something scared her ever mind before to make her hide in the closet all the time. These troublemakers causing trouble and so forth. Like, well, all the trouble started. That's where the prostitution started. That's where the drug trafficking is, and that's where all the trouble conjugate at, including the troublemakers causing problems with me right now. Very, very, very forcibly, very, very, very intensely and relentlessly. And as I said, all members of the community housing now are involved, including the police and so forth. And I'm going to go beyond that. I'm going to go way beyond that. I'm going to have more people involved. Like, I'm not going to say exactly which agencies I'm going to go for and which groups of people I shall approach about this, but it will be a surprise for these troublemakers, and action will be done against them once and for them all after over a decade of harassment and so forth. And right now, defamation is the number one issue right now with these guys, and sexual harassment, including eavesdropping. That's another thing I haven't thought of before. Considering that me and two support workers came up to make sure I got home safe, and there you go. He was standing right there, one of these troublemakers who all used to concentrate at her place and everything. So there you go. Also, it's kind of interesting since she moved out. They all seem to be targeting me. So there must have been lies spread around me. Defamation definitely is involved for sure. Considering ever since she moved out, that's when the harassment started escalating. So that's another issue to think about when it comes to her and these guys hanging out there. So is it human trafficking? Could all these troublemakers be considered human traffickers? That's one thing to look into. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about human traffickers, sexual harassment, and so forth, and all that, defamation cases, and all that. So it could be all mixed into one bundle. Maybe one big bundle in a court of law where they all be charged with many charges and so forth. So that's another thing to think about as well. So yeah. The unfortunate thing, I'm going to have to backtrack from every harassment, everything that I notated, everything, and put them in order for somebody I'm going to be speaking with later on this week, and get all the evidence together, at least part of it anyway. I even transcribed the what they say and everything, and the exact time frame when it happened and so forth in the videos and notations and who was involved, witnesses, other places I went to where the police had to come due to the harassment from the same people who are all in it together, and that'd be easily provable. And I'll help them fill in the blanks for that. So it's another thing. And I can't help but think about some time when I did an emergency phone call from the elevator. And I have that around here somewhere. Not this year, but last year, when I was calling in for some kind of emergency of some kind. I'm not sure what the elevator emergency. When this young girl in her 20s, looked like maybe younger, came in the elevator and went into the apartment of the troublemaker who moved out and everything. So that's another sign of possible human trafficking, possibly. Or why would someone else, it doesn't make any sense. That's very suspicious right there. But yeah. I'm going to have to go through all my things and organize this. And I'll even transcribe some of the things they say on some videos to make it easy for the police or lawyer and so forth to deal with these people. So yeah, including the how should I put it, indecent exposure from the one who moved out and so forth. So we'll backtrack and we get into that, and it's been less than a year, so she'll be charged too as well, and so forth. And the other one has conditions, who lives a floor above me. Who they go around all night long, back and forth, and they all talk to each other. They all go to each other's apartments and everything. But ever since that other troublemaker moved out, are they ever harassing me? It's like, what the hell? It's bullshit and all this bullshit. And the YouTube comments from this one person, that's probably not his real name. And it's possible the comment of someone on the front floor who did that is involved, is also has to be looked into very carefully in case there are defaming someone else's name as well on the first floor. Who knows? But they're definitely defamers, definitely troublemakers, definitely liars, sexual harassers, possibly human trafficking, but drugs are 100% indeed 100% involved as well. So yeah, and they're all more than one person. There are a group of people, at least 4, maybe 5, maybe a dozen, maybe even up to 10. Who knows? So that's another thing we have to think about and so forth. Yes, Red Tip Savage, nice to see you in the chat. Yes, they're lowlifes. And it's just infuriating to deal with this all these years. Emotional pain and suffering. I lost a lot of weight. I'm gaining the weight back, but now I'm losing weight again due to the escalation of harassment recently, ever since she moved out. Why don't they bother each other instead of bothering you? Well, racism involved, jealousy on part of some people, and they actually have bothered each other, and there was violence between some of them years ago with each other. Well, ambulance was involved actually, so they have bothered each other, and violence was a factor of that extreme violence where the ambulance had to come. bloodbath even in the lobby there. That's probably connected to all of them because they all hang out. So yeah, like I said, birds of a feather flock together, and violence goes wherever where they go. So yeah, that's nothing to think about. I like hanging out by myself and so forth. And I noticed that people on, like, it's kind of obvious something is happening. The harassment is going up so much that I'm neglecting normal activities I usually go for, like the breakfast community. The harassment started up back then, and so I didn't go there for that. And it was going up in December. So the harassment started escalating in December after she moved out. That's the thing. And that's a big factor to everything that has been going on. And that's usually provable as well because I haven't been going to the breakfast community. I should be going to a few other activities and community places, um, which I'm neglecting due to the harassment and due to lack of sleep and due to the physical toll it's obviously taking on me. Also, I was dealing with some kind of chest infection there for a month. So that's another thing, plus the stress of everything else going on. So, yeah, it's another factor. And I was gaining weight from 115 to 122. Oh, God, how long ago was it? Oh, beginning of January, I think. January 2nd, I believe. But I'm probably losing weight again due to the toll. These people are getting worse and worse again. It's March now, so 3 months, we'll find out how much I weigh when I go back to the clinic. And we'll do another physical, get another blood test. I'll tell her what's what and so forth and all that. And we'll ascertain what's, things in the proper order of how things are happening. So, yeah, emotional pain, suffering, and physical elements are occurring due to the extreme stress. Also, I must admit and be honest that my drinking goes up in binges when the harassment escalates. My drinking goes up. When I improve, it's like a cycle of violence of abusive relationship in a way, the same kind of circle. It's a quiet phase when it's okay and everything. Then it gets up to a little more violence, and then it gets up worse and so forth. It's like a cycle of abusive relationship in a way when it comes with these neighbors, harassment, and so forth. They go through a cycle. And it's the same kind of thing as abusive relationship when you think about it. So, cycle of abuse. There's always a stage where it gets quiet. It's the same thing like abusive relationship when these guys act the way they do. There are three different phases, like an abusive relationship. There's the honeymoon phase, which is very quiet time when people don't harass you and things are okay in an abusive relationship. There's a tension building stage where they start getting threatened and probably harassed and so forth, for instance, in a relationship. And then there's the explosion phase where there's acts of violence and so forth to the maximum. Now, what I just mentioned is the cycle of abuse in a relationship. And that is how these neighbors are acting the same way. It's very predictable where there's a quiet stage where nothing happens. Then there's a tension building stage where the harassment gets a little bit more common and everything starts up again. And then there's the explosion phase where there's threats and everything else and more direct means of violence and violence toward a person. So it never occurred to me until like when I was coming home on the bus that the neighbors are acting very much in a way like abusive relationship. Quiet phase, tension building phase, and then explosion phase where it gets really, really, really bad. So it's basically the same thing, and as a factor, even though there's multiple persons involved, obviously, and it's a group of them, which is also considered conspiracy. And I'm just going to talk to you about conspiracy right now, considering the criminal code right now. So conspiracy, criminal code. Criminal Code. So these guys can be charged big time for that as well. Conspiracy is a criminal offense in Canada that's defined in Section 465 of the Criminal Code. It's a hybrid offense, which means the type of criminal act plan determines the sentence, of course. An agreement between two or more people, the intent to commit a criminal offense, like criminal harassment included, which is criminal harassment, sexual harassment, defamation, and so forth, and all that. Each person in the agreement knew of the unlawful nature of the agreement, so they're in trouble for that as well. Each person in the agreement voluntarily and intentionally joined the agreement, so you guys are in deep, deep trouble, and so forth. We won't talk about the penalties, give dispense to them, and we'll talk about defamation, as I mentioned before. So defamation, criminal code. Okay, they're in deep trouble. Okay. Defamatory libel is a criminal offense in Canada that is defined in the Criminal Code. It's considered to be the publication of material that harms someone's reputation. For instance, like the guy who was on my YouTube, this Alan White guy, if that's even his real name, and mentioning there was someone else, another name. Well, I might as well mention it was on the YouTube chat. This Matt on the front floor. And it could be defamation, it could be who knows what, or conspiracy. Elements of defamatory libel. The material was published without justification or excuse, and the material is likely to cause hatred, contempt, or ridicule. The material is intended to insult the person it's about. The material can be expressed directly by insinuation or by irony, and so forth. Publishing a defamatory libel that is known to be false is an indictable offense and can be result in prison sentence of up to 5 years. So this guy who stupidly put that in the chat and everything could be in deep trouble for that. Telling me that I'm a prostitute, pay $50 to me, which is a lie. If that's even his real name, that's another thing. And the guy on the floor, he mentioned the name Matt that he mentioned in the chat. That could be another defamatory remark, possibly, or who knows. Okay, so yeah, these are the things. And as for sexual harassment, we'll talk about that now, which is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment. We'll talk about that another time, actually, or should we talk about that briefly now? Sexual harassment. Criminal Code. Okay. Defined, it can include unwanted communication, stalking, or threatening behavior. Like the neighbor, the support workers saw right outside my door when they made sure I got home okay on Thursday morning. Okay. It can include unwanted communication, stalking, or threatening behavior. Sexual harassment can occur in many settings, including the workplace, schools, or other public places. Unwanted contact or communication, repeatedly following somebody, repeatedly communicating with someone, watching or besetting someone's dwelling. That's another thing that guy's going to be in trouble for. And threatening someone or their family, causing unreasonable fear for safety. So that is sexual harassment. And these guys are totally, completely stupid, and they have no idea how much trouble they're in and how everything is provable anyway. So these guys, there's going to be more than one charge against them, obviously. And that's the thing. So, yeah. And like I said, Zax, they did bother each other. There was violence against all of them together. They did turn each other with extreme violent acts when Apples was involved. And the whole group of people, oh yeah, it has happened. So even the police and ambulance report knows that and so forth in the past before. So yeah, they have turned against each other. But now they're just bullying and targeting me for whatever reason since the troublemaker moved out. But yeah. They have no idea how much trouble they really are in. So I just want to talk about what's going on and a little bit more talk about the criminal code and the charges, some of the charges that these idiots could be charged with. So they really are digging their own grave and being stupid about that because everything is provable. So that's the thing. You got to record everything. You got to check the criminal code. Um, and like the way they're acting is like a cycle of abuse. The quiet stage, the tension building stage, and the extreme stage where the harassment reaches its peak. So yeah, those are the things. But after obviously watching this, they'll probably try to be unpredictable and harass different times if they're stupid enough. But yeah, they're in deep trouble. So I just want to say to my other YouTuber friend, and she is on my side and knows about the situation and is totally infuriated about their behavior as well. So yeah, we have to take care of each other, stop the predators, stop the violence against Indigenous people and women in general, and we got to work together to stand for our rights and so forth against these illegal crimes, obviously. So yeah, take care, stay safe, make witch, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a safe Sunday evening, and I'll keep you updated as well.